Thank you so much, Christy. It's been a pleasure having you back on this campus. Don and I are going to tag team. I'm going to start, and then we're going to go to do things together. Our goal today is to share, as Christy mentioned, a little bit more about the entrepreneurship scene here, in particular the new eHub that we've built. But we will also, after sharing that, of course, entertain some questions. We will give you a tour later, but there's a little exercise, fun exercise that we thought we could do with you while you're here as well to get you more plugged in to the activities, because we assume that you're here not just to listen to what we do, but hopefully to also get involved. At least we would love that. You know, this is an incredible place to be. I've been here 4 years now at UC Berkeley, and it's been an incredible ride. Spent some time on the East Coast, and I really just can't imagine being anywhere else. Such an incredible place. So by now, you've heard from Rich Lyons and everyone else about how UC Berkeley is incredible when it comes to entrepreneurship. We, for the last couple of years, have been #1 when it comes to producing venture-backed startups in the PitchBook rankings. So let's celebrate that. I keep emphasizing this because when we talk about Berkeley and Berkeley Haas, we try and have confidence without attitude, but sometimes that means that people don't share all the amazing things that we do. But yes, Intel is co-founded by Berkeley people. So is Apple. But not just that, also Tesla. And you hear about, has anybody used ChatGPT, OpenAI? Well, that's Berkeley, right? Perplexity, the competitor, that's Berkeley. Databricks, that's Berkeley. Rotten Tomatoes, that's Berkeley. Gap, that's Berkeley. Many household names that you know, but you had no idea even as alums that those are founded by Berkeley people. So #1, we got to change that. But I say that because you might wonder, like, how do we do this, right? It's incredible that we have this kind of output. How do we do it? It's very simply because we've got the best innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem on not only this campus, but any campus anywhere. That's really phenomenal place, right? And it's right now, though, spread across different entities, right? So you've probably heard of Skydeck, and Carolyn Winnett is right over here, which is our accelerator. And Y Combinator are these days partners, but also gets nervous because they're worried that we're going to take all the good ones and accelerate them, which we do. It's been an incredible journey because we're good here and elsewhere. You've heard about the Berkeley Haas entrepreneurship programs. Toby Stewart, Rhonda do an incredible job. UC Launch, Seed, many other programs here as well, right? You may have heard about the Sutarza Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology over in the College of Engineering. You may have heard of Citrus, and so on. There are somewhere between 80 and 100, depending on how you count them, different entrepreneurship and innovation units on campus, all over the map, doing their own thing, either curricular or incubation or acceleration or some other form of funding, some hackathons, competitions, a million different things. So unbelievable ecosystem. Now imagine if we could take this ecosystem and turbocharge that ecosystem somehow so it could do even better by having a teeny tiny bit of coordination to actually help feed people into these programs. Well, that's kind of the idea behind the Entrepreneurship Hub, right? Can we somehow help the system to help itself a little bit more? Some years ago, what happened was that a few people had an idea. They were like, you know, how can Berkeley Haas be more involved in the entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem here? I mean, it seems kind of logical that in a very STEM-oriented university that you need the business side as well, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? And so imagine a world where we might hypothetically have a place where you could come up with your ideas in a place, meet co-founders, and then be helped to navigate the rest of the system, right? We went, did some focus groups, did some surveys, and figured out on campus that there were 3 things that people wanted that were missing on campus, or at least not fully developed. One was they didn't have a place where they could just drop in, build community just from anywhere across campus, regardless of whether you're an English major or you're in physics or you're in engineering or you're at Haas, where you could just meet other people doing entrepreneurship, where you could find co-founders and do things like this, right? The second thing is, we also didn't have a place where we could have all those phenomenal alumni get involved. There's so many of you, including those in the room, who would make fantastic mentors or investors, for example, or want to help us in so many other ways, but there's really no easy way to connect with all those amazing alumni that we have. And third, I was alluding to it all this time, if you have an idea on this campus, you kind of have to figure out where to go. It's not easy to figure out where to go and where do I begin. What if there were a place where you could go and it would be a place where you could simply be helped to navigate the rest of the ecosystem, where someone would tell you, oh, okay, this is where you're at. Well, I recommend you take this class first, and then after that, you do a little bit of prototyping. You know, the Trioni grant can help you towards that. And then what you do after that is develop the ideas further through a more structured program. And then, you know, we want you to be prepared to go to one of the programs at Skydeck. That's the kind of thing which would be incredible, right? Well, that's how the eHub was born, and that is what we have. So what is the eHub? It's actually a building, which many of you might have seen. 2232 Piedmont Avenue is the formal address, right across from Memorial Stadium on the Piedmont Avenue side, which is closest to Haas. Next to the Human Rights Center, you will see a charming Julia Morgan building, which will be a place where we combine modernity with classic inspiration, true Berkeley style, and in it, we have all kinds of great things happening. The idea is to solve those three problems that I mentioned. Imagine a place where students and faculty who are interested in commercialization of ideas and their patents can come, they can mingle with each other, they can exchange notes, cry on each other's shoulders, celebrate the wins, find other people to work with, a place where they can work on their stuff, a place where they can meet investors, a place where they can show off what they do. That's the idea behind the eHub. The eHub's mission is to make entrepreneurship easier and more accessible for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're very seasoned already and you're looking for an investor or getting ready for the next stage. It doesn't matter if you're just curious about entrepreneurship, which we call the Entreprecurious. That's the idea behind it. Come in and join us on these floors. We aim to fulfill our mission by doing three things. One, helping people connect. The second is by helping them build. And the third is by helping them be discovered. So imagine different floors that are set up for social activities or maybe for casual canapé style. Let investors walk around and enjoy some posters of early stage startups and give them some advice. Or I need meeting rooms to do my stuff, you know, and I have to meet with people, whether on Zoom or in person. Or I need to buckle down and just get some stuff done. Of course, it comes with a game room, you know. These days it's not pool and things like that, but instead what people do is they play video games all day, so we have that set up as well, right? All of that, which I hope you'll join us for. But now to tell you a little bit more about all the things that we're doing here is Don McGee, who has been the orchestrator and architect of so much of our programming in the eHub.
Thank you, Saikat. Okay, before I talk about the eHub, which is my current favorite subject, so my friends, my family are sick of hearing about the eHub, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences here at Berkeley. I just celebrated my 1-year Berkeley Haas anniversary last month, yes. And you know, it's similar to what Saikat said. I can't imagine going anywhere else. So I'm very happy where I am. Love the students. I'm having so much fun with the students, and it's just incredible to be in a place that has so many resources available. So when these students dream these really big dreams, they actually have what they need to make them come true. So there's that feels really good to be a part of that. So I'm happy to be here with you today. Okay, let's get to my favorite topic, the eHub. So at our core, we are a physical space. So here are a couple of pictures of our physical space that you will have the opportunity to see later. And we do a lot of hard work to think about how to use this physical space and people being in person together to help them build the community that we think will enable them to become successful entrepreneurs. Now, when I first started at, my job, Saikat gave me a couple instructions. So his instructions were that I needed to create something that would amplify what already exists on campus, complement what is here on campus, but doesn't replicate anything that's here on campus. Well, there's over 100 units on campus dedicated to innovation and entrepreneurship. So that was kind of a daunting challenge, but I think we've figured out a way to complement the amazing wealth of resources that already exists on campus while finding our own special, unique space dealing with community. So the way we operate this building, we run it as a members-only club. So I like to say it's actually the most inclusive, exclusive opportunity that there is, because right now you can walk in the door and say you want to become a member and you can join on the spot. But you have to be committed to doing something related to entrepreneurship for the rest of the semester. So that's the criterion. That is the only real criterion to become a member of the eHub. And what's wonderful about that is I can then say to students that every single person in this building is doing something related to entrepreneurship. So I invite them to go to talk to each other, find out what they're working on, to reach out for feedback. And it's really great. It's beautiful to watch happen. I'll tell you, this week there was a team that's in, I'm going to tell you about our entrepreneurship practice track soon, but they're in our most advanced practice track, and they were working on their startup. They are actually Caroline, they were very excited to announce that they got into Pad 13. So they're trying to make the best of their time before they start the Pad 13 program soon. But they're sitting there, and then a new student walks into the building. I'm doing some other things, but I'm observing what's going on. And so this new student is sitting in a separate space in the building all by himself, and then the team encourages him to come over, and they ask him for some input on their MVP that they're building, and then they ask him what he's working on, and before you know it, the four of them are chatting like old friends. So this is what we are trying to create on a regular basis in the eHub. So let me tell you a little bit about the programs that are helping us to create this collaborative environment. So most of the members of the eHub become members of the eHub through one of 3 entrepreneurship practice tracks. So these are 8-week programs that meet for about an hour each week that are designed to, number one, get students at Berkeley started or continuing practicing entrepreneurship, and to help better prepare them for all of the other programs that are on campus. So we want, you came to us, you weren't ready for a program. We want to help make sure that you are better prepared and more likely to get into one of the intensive education programs next semester. So the 3 tracks that we run that we think every student on Berkeley's campus would be eligible to participate in one of our 3 tracks. The first is the search track. This is the track for students who don't yet have an idea. It's really hard to participate in entrepreneurship resources if you don't even have an idea. So we work on identifying problems that are meaningful to them, finding the right problem for them to solve, and then we brainstorm different solutions that they might be interested in testing. So that's the search track. I can't promise that they'll end with the perfect idea for them, but they'll at least end with a toolkit of frameworks that they can use to generate more problems and generate more ideas. The test track is for students who have ideas but aren't sure what to do next. This is my way to save the world from Berkeley students having an idea in the shower in the morning and then telling everyone at lunch they're raising $5 million, right? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done between an idea and taking other people's resources to invest in that idea. So I introduce them to evidence-based entrepreneurship, and every week we talk about a different tool that they can use to collect evidence that either tells them they're on the right track or that actually you need to adapt your business model a little bit. The third track is for our most committed student entrepreneurs. So these are students who have already done the work of collecting evidence, and the evidence points to, yes, you should be investing some time in building this idea. So these students, there's no curriculum in Build because building is so idiosyncratic, but we meet every week. I've started calling what we do startup group therapy. So it's like one part accountability, one part community building. So you show up and you tell people what you were working on last week, what obstacles got in the way, what problems you need to solve to continue. And then frequently people also bring the things that they need feedback on. So yesterday in Build, I participated in that team that was hanging out. I used their MVP that assessed my public speaking abilities and gave them feedback on what the experience was like in our Build session. But these sessions, I'm going to tell you one more story and then move forward. But the Build sessions have been really remarkable to watch. So, I felt very strongly about this idea of having community. You hear about the statistics about loneliness right now, but especially founder loneliness, founder mental health challenges. So I wanted to do something that would make it more likely that they would have someone to call on when they had a hard time 6 months down the road. So I'm going to tell you one story that makes me believe that we're on the right track for that. So one Build session a couple weeks ago was really heavy. So one student shared that they had broken up with their romantic partner. One student had had a dramatic ending to a co-founder relationship. And one student had just learned that she was going to have to shutter her favorite aspect of her operations. So what's really remarkable, so it's not that remarkable that those things happen, right? This is life, like those things actually do happen. But what's remarkable is that they showed up to tell people about these bad things that happened in that past week. And the support that they received from the people in their group was incredible. At the end of the session, everyone hugged each other. Now, I have led university entrepreneurship centers for almost 10 years. Never have I ever seen a group of founders hug each other. So I think there's something really special about what we're building, really special about what we're building. Now, these Build founders also get matched with mentors that commit to spending 3 months to help students reach a milestone that they agree on together. There are other mentors that are in a pool to be called at will when there is something that a specific entrepreneur needs have like one conversation with. So that's ways that we are working with some mentors now. Let me log in. Yeah, that tells me I'm talking too long. Sorry, guys. I told you I love talking about the eHub.
Everyone's trying to figure out your password.
There's not that much interesting in my computer anyway. Okay, Saikat already talked about the navigator, helping students navigate resources. One thing that I will say, this summer we're notching up this service a little bit. So the students who are participating in our summer membership will use the navigator as someone to help them find resources. So they'll get to say what their goals are for the summer and what they need to achieve those goals, and our navigator will help them find the right programs, the right people to help accelerate that process. Okay, so questions. I'm going to invite Saikat back up to the stage so that we can answer any burning questions that you have?
Thank you so much. I was just wondering, how do current students find out about the eHub? Like, what are ways they can find out?
Great question. Lots of marketing, lots of social media. So we have a cool website too. Go ahead.
Yeah, we do a lot of things to get out on campus. So we do class visits. We do campus intercepts, where we stop students and make them listen to us talk about the eHub. My thing is, I tell my student team, I was like, if we're asking founders to go and do these things, then we have to be capable of doing it ourselves. We participate in email distribution. The Satarja Center has been so supportive and always taking our message out to alumni. And then we've got a social media presence as well. So those are the ways. But we need more. So if you have ideas, please share them.
One other way we do it, and it's in the spirit of building up the network and connecting with others, is we work with clubs on campus. So sometimes, as you know from your time here as well, students tend to be extremely entrepreneurial in how they go about navigating the system as well. So many of these clubs, AI at Berkeley, Entrepreneurs at Berkeley, and the others, they're also doing an incredible job. So we're like, let's partner, do a joint event, do some activities, and that tends to bring people in as well. Our latest membership numbers are, we have close to 350, right?
Yeah.
Close to 350 members, and this launched in February. So, it's been incredible, so thank you. Other questions? Lots of questions are here, and then we'll make sure that everybody gets covered.
Can you talk a little bit about the mentorship aspect of this, especially how can alumni help with the mentorship activities?
Yes. And hopefully, again, we're looking for ideas, because we do not take advantage of mentors as much as we should. And this is another great example of cross-campus collaboration. The Berkeley Skydeck seeded our mentors. So the majority of the mentors in our pool right now are also Berkeley Skydeck advisors. So that was tremendously helpful in us being able to launch. So right now we have mentors come for fireside chats and giving feedback to student ventures. We have mentors do office hours. We have mentors do small group sessions where students bring challenges and they talk about them. We've got a mentor trying out and Ask Me Anything next week. So we are so game that if you want to come and play football with people, I am down. I will market that, and I'm sure somebody will show up.
No, I think it was me. Similar question, so thanks for answering that. I just want to say, great initiative. Would love to sign up as a mentor, advisor, and help out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think, Caroline also had a question, right?
Yeah, I mentioned that the navigator is an actual human named Karena. I think that would be helpful.
Yes, thank you.
No, it's absolutely true. These days everything can be a bot. But you actually have a human. Karena is someone who worked on big ideas, which you may have heard of more along the lines of social innovation, and has been active on this campus. And there's an actual human that guides you through this process. Of course, we're thinking about scaling this as well as we get more and more members. And we're thinking about, besides hiring people, peer mentors are also a great idea, because there are folks on this campus, including students, who've gone through the process. And sometimes the students are a better resource for helping others to navigate as well. So that's another way we're looking at it. But yes, if you click on that button, basically you'll get connected to sign up with an appointment with an actual human coordinator.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we have any events and activities where we can bring up our ideas and participate with the network that we built with eHub?
By we, do you mean alumni or do you mean students?
All, in general.
Absolutely. In fact, we just had our first venture showcase, right? So imagine, in the spirit of what we do, because we're so early stage and trying to feed the rest of the ecosystem and get people prepared, We want, our hypothesis is that if we have a little bit of early support for people who are curious, we will increase the pipeline of folks going on into entrepreneurship, and that'll also lead to output. So in that spirit, the kinds of things, so you see fascinating demo days like Skydeck had, for example, last week, or you see Launch has been having and things like that, right? But our idea is how can we get you feedback early? So for instance, we had our first venture showcase last week, and what we want to do is think of different forms where teams might present to investors, or think about posters by 30 startups, and investors walking around, alumni walking around, providing guidance, providing thoughts. That's the kind of activity we do on that front. Anything you want to add? How was the experience of the first venture showcase?
It was, people were smiling. I mean, I have weird metrics, right? But both investors and founders were smiling. Founders got to have one-on-one conversations with investors who actually have capital to deploy. And they loved it. They really, really enjoyed it. And then we ended the evening. Food is really important at the eHub. We have some kind of food budget. So we ended the evening eating yummy empanadas, and people ate a whole lot of empanadas, and just casual conversations between investors and the founders. So it was pretty nice.
We're all about serendipitous collisions. You know, I mean, you have to have a little bit of structure to facilitate that and create the environment, but it's a lot about can we bring the right people in the room? That's why the session was called Catalyzing Connections as well. Other questions? Yeah.
Hey, I have one. Have you thought about maybe partnering with Skydeck in the South Bay with the whole, there's a lot of us alumni in the South Bay. I remember talking to Chantang like 4 years ago when he said, the eVTOL and the other stuff would come at Moffitt. Have you thought about that? Second question is, are you thinking about any funds, like setting up a fund for alumni to invest in? It might be $100, might be $1 million. I know it would be a good way for us to participate in something like this, right? So has there been any thought around this as well?
There has been more than thought along both of those lines. So on the fund, we can't say anything yet, but that's already in the works. And in the form where alumni will be able to participate. So there's something at the university level, which is a bit more public, which Rich has mentioned already, the Chancellor. But there's also something happening at the Haas level. And you'll be hearing about that probably latter half of this year. So that exists. In terms of South Bay presence and doing it, whether in partnership or in general, absolutely. We've even held events down in the South Bay for our alumni. Not only that, because we realize that a lot of our mentors and potential investors and everyone are also down there. So being there as well. Moffett Field in particular is actually a bigger project. So I was on the first group that went, a couple of years ago to draw up the blueprint. We have this white paper on the different plans. And officially it's the Berkeley Space Center. But unofficially, you don't need 36 acres to only have aerospace research and teaching. So just imagine what hypothetically a UC Berkeley could do with all its departments in a 36-acre facility, which is located in Mountain View. So that's all I will say on that front. But all those things are in the works. I think one thing that you will see is that there's a whole new energy on campus. It's not that the campus has been sleepy, but I think if you look at physical infrastructure, if you look at the programming, there's a renewed shift in the last 10 years, last 5 years, and going forward, also with our current Chancellor. New buildings are going up left and right as well, whether this or the new Gateway building on the engineering side, or the new Grimes Engineering Center. Even on the humanities side, there's a new center. So even physical campus will look completely different 3 or 4 years from now. And I like to say that finally the infrastructure is going to match the quality of the programming that exists around here. I will say, though, and maybe this is a plug at this point, we need your support. I'll be very honest with you. This type of facility over here, and I'm sure Caroline and others feel the same about Skydeck. So the closest analog is Harvard's Innovation Lab, iLab, and Wharton's Tangen Hall. They have 20 staff and 14 staff respectively at their facility. We have 2 full-time with Don and Corinna. I mean, we make do with students and we're scrappy Berkeley style, but let's be honest about it. If we had 5 or 6 people, we could be doing a lot of things, right? So that's where we invite all of you to participate in whatever capacity you can, of course, being a mentor or investor. But also, I'll be very frank about this. I came from the Wharton School, and so I'm not shy about saying this. We also need dollars, some serious dollars. There's an incredible naming opportunity, only $20 million. I know it sounds like a lot, but honestly, if we were at some of these other universities, $20 million for an entrepreneurship hub at Berkeley where you could associate all this stuff would be gone in a month. In a month. People would pay 40 or 50 for it. Not that all of you need to pay 20, but if you have some friends also who might want to get together and do this kind of thing, incredible opportunity that exists. Okay, enough of a plug. Yeah.
Saikat, I had one question for you. They did give me a microphone.
They did.
So you already started touching on this, but what would be the number one thing on your wish list for next year as you look to scale the eHub?
Only one thing. We just put together
Choose your
10 different
favorite.
things. Choose my favorite. Actually, Don, you start with this one, and then I'll add on top of it. What's your number one thing on
I'm going to steal your answer. We were on a panel, and I had an answer. I answered this question first, and then he said his answer, and I was like, well, I want to change my answer. So I'm stealing his answer from that panel and saying staff. It'd be nice to not do everything. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I second that. I think we have so many programming ideas which just can't be implemented without the people to do it. And students can do a lot of stuff, but it's very different if you have a full-time person or multiple doing these kinds of things. But I'll give you a glimpse of what cool things we could be doing to be a bit more scrappy than the rest. For instance, the reason why these other places have so many staff is because a lot of their jobs is to engage with alumni and investors and others and maintain those relationships and build up that database of mentors and investors and then make those connections. We're actually thinking about an AI tool which can help us to scrape LinkedIn, to fill some of those, mentor positions and get at least some ideas, and even do some initial matchmaking. We don't feel comfortable in only having AI doing all those things because you're going to miss all kinds of nuances and it's going to make all kinds of mistakes. But if we did that, then we could consolidate the work of I know that Wharton has 5 people doing only those roles, and Harvard has 8. We could consolidate that probably into one full-time person, and then the rest using technology. So that's an example of how we could augment that. So I'll add the augmentation piece to the number one piece.
Hi, sort of a comment more than a question, but so I love what I'm hearing here, and something that was actually towards the beginning that I think is vitally important. I'm on the committee that decides who gets into an accelerator. And so I see a lot of what the proposals are and the pitches are.
Yeah.
And that idea of having entrepreneurs understanding early on, this is an idea, I'm testing the idea, I'm building it, and then this is the level I need to get into an accelerator, or the level I would need to go raise money, is just absolutely vital and not understood. So the more you can focus on that, and I love the supportive community-based way, so it's less of a telling, but more of a, this is how you become successful, that is enormously important to the ecosystems that they're feeding into. So it's not really a question, it's more a comment, but that's really, really important, and I'm super happy to see it the way that you structured it.
We appreciate that comment, and I'll let Don comment in a second as well. We appreciate that comment, and we're starting to see some results. So UC Launch just had their demo day as well, and the second and third prize went to teams that went through a track with Don here. And so it's just an N of 1 or maybe 2 at this point, but and that's why those instructions at the beginning. At Berkeley, we don't have someone giving us $1 billion so we can just put everything under one roof. We all have to work together as an ecosystem. So if we can get teams better prepared for Skydeck, for others, and get it done, and then for investors, we are happy to serve that purpose. If we're a flow-through place where you spend a little time with us and we facilitate your journey in some way, we are perfectly happy with that. We want to help catalyze the rest of the ecosystem and extract the synergies. And I'm really glad to hear that from your vantage point, that's a role that's worth doing.
I love validation, so thank you. Thank you. I know, I shouldn't, but I do. And also, let's talk so we can figure out how to get people into your accelerator.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, get Alphonse. So.
Yeah, not right now.
Noted. Other questions?
Yes. I wonder if you have a sort of secret sauce for bringing together people from a deep tech background and business people. Yeah, because my experience is they speak different languages. They're a bit shy on either side. Like, wow, these biology people are so great. On the other hand, I don't understand this finance stuff. How do you bring these people together and work together?
Yeah. Let me start with that, but then you can go into the specifics of it. One thing that I found at UC Berkeley, which was really incredible and surprised me a lot, was every university is siloed. That's just the way things work due to specialization. Whether it's technology and business or the humanities or anyone else, they're siloed. What I found at Berkeley, which just was really perplexing, is it's not that people want to be separated. If you give them an opportunity to work together and the path to do so, they actually do. And that's been a very interesting cultural shift, because when I was at other places like the ones I mentioned, it was not always like that. There were a lot of incentives for just staying on your own. So I actually think that the prerequisites for doing so at Berkeley are much, much better. We have active collaborations with different centers, like Sutarja Center, which is anchored in the College of Engineering, for instance, in order to bring it together. For me personally, I like to think of myself as a boundary spanner, just having the joint appointment between business and engineering as well. But we make a lot of effort, because sometimes actually engineering and business, or technology and business, is actually relatively easy for us. Getting the law students, getting the folks from art history, getting the folks who can do the narratives from English, that's a little bit harder, because they may not see themselves as entrepreneurship in a classic sense, But tell us all the different things that we do.
Yeah. Well, this is a work in process. We are not finished yet. One, just our broad marketing approach has helped us. We have a quite balanced membership pool. We haven't really hit the PhDs successfully yet, so we've got to do more to get some PhDs. I actually had 2 Haas MBAs come up to me today to express gratitude for the fact that the eHub was a place that they did meet people from different disciplines, because they said there were no other ways for them to do that. So, I mean, doing more of this, one thing I'm happy for, some MBAs came to me who want to solve this problem. So I was like, great, you're going to solve this problem. So they're having a hackathon with MBAs and technical graduate students in December, and they're going to use our space to facilitate some of that. So that's one way, get the students to figure out how to get people in the same room. But honestly, I think there's a lot of creativity needed and a lot of feet on the ground to go and convince the people who have relationships with those students. So sometimes that's the students themselves and club leadership, et cetera. But then it's, their faculty members, it's the people that support them in academic services and looking for openings of ways to talk with them. And then another thing, when you're trying to talk with them, you need to understand. I mean, it's just like any other venture. You need to understand who they are so that you can talk with them, right? So we did some interviewing this semester of technical students to understand what they were looking for in short-term projects, for example. So actually talking to the community can give you some ideas about how your specific community might want to connect with each other.
You'll also notice our branding. Even though we're the Berkeley Haas Entrepreneurship Hub, Haas is the one who invested in it, and so forth, we actually do it as powered by Berkeley Haas. We tone it down a notch because we want it to be inclusive and bring people in. And actually, Haas is making the contribution to bring campus together. That's the way we raise the importance of Berkeley Haas also on this campus in the I&E ecosystem, but by saying we're for everyone. And that actually helps. A lot of it's identity. Like Don was saying earlier, do I feel like this is something for me? Is this something that can naturally work with us? Yeah. But we do have support also from the Chancellor's office. We have support from the deans, and are anchored at those levels. So for all the bottom-up talk, we also have a lot of top-down support where we can connect with different partners easily. The mere fact that Caroline's sitting here, for example, in this session is, she's the executive director, as you know, of Skydeck, is a testimony to the partnerships that we're able to build across campus. Yeah, we're here, yeah, thank you.
How do you work with social entrepreneurs or wannabe social entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
I get this question a lot. Social entrepreneurship is my favorite kind of entrepreneurship. My most valued entrepreneurial experience was in building a community-based arts and social justice venture. So bring them on. So I would argue that, I would argue that our 3 tracks right now can support any type of entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sure I'm wrong. Like, someone's going to tell me why they don't work, right? But they definitely work for social entrepreneurs. But then also, in addition to just putting you in a generic program, like I'm quite accessible. So happy to talk with students about what makes a social venture different and the types of, and share with them frameworks like, hey, let's talk about a theory of change. Let's talk about a logic model and why these things are actually valuable in identifying what impact you're going to create, right? So it's loose right now, nothing really formal, but I aspire to catch everyone who comes in the door. So I want to do it, yeah.
You mentioned the ecosystem on campus and dozens of entities, it sounds like, involved. Do you have a map of the ecosystem for the people at the eHub to use to navigate this ecosystem?
Yeah, there are a number of resources. There's actually some great, there's some slides which are also, I think they're public, where the Chancellor's office has put together some things. There's also an Innovation and Entrepreneurship Council at the university level, which puts together something. There's a website called begin.berkeley.edu, which lists all the resources. So we do have those mapped. I think sometimes though the challenge is, I'm not sure whether we have everything because we realize and discover new things all the time, but we keep adding them. The challenge sometimes is figuring out exactly what each of them do, because what is stated might be different from where their emphasis is. And so that's where getting to know the different entities, and part of the navigator's role is actually to get to know each of the entities and how we might support and complement each other in the process, is how we do it. So yes, there's a physical, representation of Berkeley's I&E ecosystem. And then the harder part, though, is figuring out what each one does and how we can stitch together these personalized pathways that Don was talking about. It's actually incredible how the university is coming together, perhaps due to some challenges like on the financial side, not just now, but also earlier, but also due to the opportunities we've enjoyed. Part of the reason we appear as #1 on the PitchBook lists, we should have appeared earlier, but our data collection wasn't that good. We've probably been #1 for the last 10 years. But nobody, and I say 10 years deliberately because that's roughly the time frame during which a lot of activity started to seriously be promoted. Even if you look at who's been brought into the university and other things, they've been really supported, so roughly that time frame. But I think we've been #1 for 10 years. We just didn't collect the data. Berkeley alums themselves have no idea about this stuff. We used to rely on a Wikipedia page to know which of our startups, is actually Berkeley co-founded, so all of that. And those things have really shaped. Darren Cook, who's the Chief Innovation and Entrepreneurship Officer right now, he's in interim capacity, but it's the role that Rich Lyons held prior to becoming Chancellor, is also trying to do a little bit more to organize the information. And that's really important for us. So everybody knows, part of your job, by the way, is also to spread the word. Be proud about this place. You know, we're really good. We're really good. I'll give you a few more tidbits. We have more top 3 departments than any university but Harvard University. Harvard doesn't have the technical side like we do. Science is not as pretty good, but engineering, let's not go there. They need MIT for that. And so, but they don't have Silicon Valley. So who's number 1? Come on, guys, it's Berkeley, right? So, but we got to say it, you know, Times, Shanghai rankings, look at the pecking order there. It's always Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Berkeley. Sorry, my alma mater, you know, undergrad alma mater was Penn, but no, we're not in the same league. We're in a different league. Columbia, no, sorry, you're not in our league, nor is Princeton. We're only with these other ones. I'm being a little snooty here. The point I'm making with all this is be proud of being a Bear. Be proud of being at Berkeley Haas, but also UC Berkeley. We are incredible as an institution. We are world class, one of the top 5, 6. And that's why every year, whether an alum or some kind of other person who's connected, former faculty, current faculty, doctoral student, something or another, postdoc who was here, Berkeley wins like 1 to 2 Nobel Prizes a year, if you go by that metric. That's unreal, especially for a public university, how we managed to do social mobility, but at the same time, eminence at a level that's enviable to universities that have 10 times the resources that we do. And yet we do. So let's keep doing it. Let's be proud, but also spread the message. You know, we're amazing. As you can see, the confidence without attitude I have a problem with. But it's got to be said anyway. All right, we still have a few minutes for questions, right? Actually, yeah, we still have some time. Go ahead. Or did you want to transition to, if there's another question? Was there another question? Do you want to do a mini exercise?
Yeah, we'll do a mini
exercise. Let's do it. And the reason is we want you involved. And so this is kind of prep work for that. All right, yes. Let's do it.
So we'll see. We're done at 1:15. All right. We'll see what we can do. All right.
We're done at 12:15.
This is, yes. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry. Not another hour in 15 minutes. Okay. So what we're going to do is as much of an activity that we run at the eHub, so you get to experience what it's like to participate in an eHub activity. You're welcome. Yes. So this is based off an event that we have called Problem of the Month. It happens twice a month. And each month we identify a different problem that we're going to work on solving. And we use human-centered design to guide our problem-solving approach. So today, I am going to engage all of you lovely people in helping us brainstorm ways for mentors to get more engaged, right? So there's a whole lot of you. We've got some students. What are all of the ways that we should mix them up? So, but we're going to do this the way I'm in control. So we're going to do this the way I like to brainstorm. And I'll tell you why I like to brainstorm this way as we go through. So first step is for you to understand the rules of brainstorming when Dawn's in charge. So when Dawn's in charge of brainstorming, we generate ideas. We do not evaluate ideas, okay? So I have to say this a lot to students because we do all these brainstorming activities and they end up with one idea. I'm like, how do you possibly, like we spent 3 hours on this. So generate, don't evaluate. So, all right. So that is our first instruction. So second instruction, I'm going to need everyone needs to bring out their phone, grab your favorite notes thing I'm watching, bring out your phone, get your notes, or if you have something you want to write on, you can do that too. But I think phone is the easier bit. And we're going to first just seed the process of ideation. So ideation is like any other kind of muscle. The more you use it, the better it becomes, right? So we're going to practice generating some ideas right now. And my prompt is really easy. So how might we engage alumni in our eHub community? But the first round of brainstorming has a very specific rule. fun, we're going to compete because I like to compete. So we're going to compete to see who can generate the most ideas, and I have wonderful eHub t-shirts to give you as your prize. So the only way to win this game is to generate lots and lots of ideas. We're going to warm up by first generating bad ideas. So I'm going to give you a minute and a half in a moment, and your instruction is to come up with as many ridiculous, insane, bad ideas as you can, okay? So your objective is just to keep going for 90 seconds. So don't stop. That's the only way to lose. The only way to lose this game is to stop, all right? So on your marks, get set, go. Okay, that's time. Now, how many people were able to keep going the entire time? Hands in air. Oh, check you out. You're so much better than the students. All right. We're going to have to do that. Okay, now count your ideas. So who had at least 5 ideas? Okay, 10, keep your hands up. 12. You're the last man standing. Okay.
How many did you have?
13, but it was bad ideas.
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
That was the assignment. Awesome. All right, you know what? I think we're going to use our bad ideas because in those bad ideas, what I heard were things that could spark some ideas that would be good ideas, right? Yeah. All right. So now we're going to get to the next part of my brainstorming scheme. So first, I just want to point out that when we started brainstorming, we did this individually, and that was by design. So I always start brainstorming individually. I usually try to get people to have their own independent time to think about ideas on their own before we bring it to a group to collaborate. So that just keeps the people who, like, I'm an overly vocal participant in a brainstorming group. Like, I'm old enough that I can restrain myself, but when I was young, I was horrible. I was really horrible. So this is a way to make sure that everyone actually gets to think of their own ideas. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pick your favorite bad idea in a moment, okay? And then we're going to play a game that I call Yes and. It's not, so if you've done anything in the innovation community, yes and is going to be a very familiar phrase. So we get this from improv teams, and it's the rule of the improv stage that when someone presents an idea to you, you do not contradict it. You say yes. And then you look to build that into the scene in some way and create the scene together. So that's what we're going to do in our brainstorming in a moment. So Saikat and I are going to demonstrate how this can be done in brainstorming, how you can take someone else's idea and contribute to that idea. So we're going to do a demonstration of 2 scenes where Saikat is going to give me an idea, and I'm going to show you what you do next in Yes and. Are we good? Okay. All right. So Saikat, how might we engage alumni in our eHub community?
We can do office hours.
Yes, and when I think of doing office hours, I think it would be really great to have different categories of office hours. So maybe we recruit people with different sets of skills for our office hours. So that was one example. In that example, I said yes, and I said, I can think of how to make that idea even better, right? So I augmented the original idea by adding a little bit more to that idea. But together, we were able to build something else. So I'm going to give you one other way that this frequently happens. Hey, Saikat.
Hey.
How might we engage alumni in our eHub community?
Well, we can do office hours.
That's interesting. Yes. And you know, when I think about doing mentor office hours, I immediately think there's going to be a pattern in the questions. So I wonder if we could also create a mentor knowledge base that tackles the most common questions and uses mentors for other types of questions. So this time I'm saying yes, and your idea made me think of something about that idea that I can do something else with. Now, I'm going to give you, I like rules. My brain really likes rules. So apparently I was like this as a little kid. I made up games that had lots of rules and made everyone play. So in playing my game, so I am exactly the same as when I was little. So in playing my game, you have to follow my rules. So this rule right now, it's not even really a rule. It's how to earn a title. So we're all old enough in this room that we have experienced someone who likes to play the game smartest person in the room, right? Everyone has had that experience. So I'm going to give you the rule that determines who the smartest person in the room is. So if that's your thing, I'm going to tell you how you can win that prize. So smartest person in the room is the person who can make every idea look amazing. That is what you're trying to do. You're trying to transform every idea into something amazing. And how wonderful that we get to do this with bad ideas. So, okay, your first instruction to get this started is to pick your favorite bad idea. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to find your favorite bad idea.
Individually.
Yes, individually. Now your next instruction, and we're going to mess up all the chairs and speaker, but that's okay because we know how to put chairs in a straight line. So the next assignment is to find a group of 3 or 4 people to brainstorm with. So physically move your bodies so you are in a circle with 3 or 4 people.
Cool.
Okay. Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Now the next part.
Okay.
Next part.
I should have given you all the instructions before I told you to move. Rookie mistake. So, all right, your instruction, now you've seen the demonstration. Pick who goes first. We're going to do this for 5-6 minutes. So one person starts the brainstorm with their favorite bad idea. The next person yes and you do that until you make it around the circle. Now, person who starts the idea, keep your phone handy. So when they are yes-anding your idea, you should be recording the ideas that are generated from your idea to see if one of those is even better than what you came up with.
Are they trying to get worse or are they trying to get better?
It's fine for them to be bad. They're really trying to be better. But the way to play, though, is to put something. So I don't want you to worry so much about generating good ideas. That's too much pressure. Don't worry. Just say obvious things to you, right? Don't try to be brilliant. That's not the expectation. The expectation is just that you participate, and by virtue of you having a unique perspective, whatever you offer has value, okay? So that's the perspective that we're working with here. All right, so we're going to do 5-6 minutes of yes-anding, and then we'll talk about some of these ideas. Go for it. We're almost all in our seats. That's another one of my weird metrics. If it's really hard to get people to stop an activity, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. They wanted to keep doing, yeah. All right, so let's have a couple stories about your experience.
We're almost done.
We haven't finished yet? Okay. Ooh, it was Lizzie, too. It was Lizzie and Howard's team. How dare you? All right, so someone tell me about this process of yes-anding. I'm curious both about some of the ideas that came out of the process, but also what the experience felt like for you as a participant.
I was thinking, within the process itself. So, like, somebody shared their bad idea, and then someone was like, "Yes," and the way they actually made it almost even better was they thought of a complete opposite that could also work really well. So,
awesome.
Neat. Maybe one more. Just over here. Yep.
Yes, as a participant, I feel affirmation of my ideas, no matter how bad or outlandish it is, and also just hearing other people's input, actually almost like watering a seed and seeing it sprout and grow right in front of me. And the other thing is, it's very interesting, like all the ideas being built or disregard, I mean, even though there are different aspects of the idea, but the common thread is connection, human connection. And the entrepreneurs, the tech people can use gamification, synchronized dances, whatever, to fortify that human connection. And that comes to the community theme.
Love it. Thank you for that. Okay, tell me.
All right,
I love it. Demand to share your idea.
My idea was to take away everyone's Berkeley degree until they get engaged.
Oh.
They have to earn it back.
Okay. We would have been friends when we were little. Oh, okay.
I love it. But you're getting to an important point, if I may say so, which is that one of the challenges that we have at Berkeley is that I think because it's a public university, the relationship between alum and the institution is sometimes very strong, sometimes not as strong. Whereas if you do go to one of the private universities, for example, certain expectations, if I interpret that point about your idea, about that you will be involved in various ways, are much stronger and more powerful, right? So even without taking away a degree, though that could be something, the idea that there is some sort of responsibility you have towards your institution is, I think, a powerful one, So no matter how we achieve it. All right, wrap things up.
All right, so I'm going to wrap up with 2 QR codes. My first QR code is if you had an idea that you were like, "Ooh, you should actually do something with this idea, Dawn. Try to make this happen. Give me your favorite idea." So that's the first QR code. All right, I was expecting there to be more time in between QR codes, so you might have to take a picture of one. Oh no, it just opens a new link. Yes. All right, so my next QR code is for mentor sign up. So if you want to do one of your amazingly bad ideas at the eHub, I am super game. Bring it on. We can have movie night. Movie night is actually one that's come up. That's come up a number of times, actually. So happy to have you participate in the eHub community. So yes, with that, I will say, at least for my part, thank you so much for coming and listening to me gush about the eHub and for playing my game. I really appreciate your participation. Thank you.
Thank you from my side too.